Hey folks, and welcome to this episode of The Grow Show. Now, today I am joined by the fantastic Teresa Brooks, and we're going to be talking about so much to help you. Now, Teresa and I talk all about Coach Magazine. We talk about coaching, we talk about mentoring, we talk about NLP, we talk about those highs and lows that you experience as a person and a business, and so much more. So jam-packed episode, let's get started. So welcome everyone to The Grow Show with me, Gary Jones. Now today's guest that's joining me is Teresa Brooks. Now Teresa is a business coach, NLP practitioner, and now founder of Coach Magazine. Coach Magazine is a brand new and vibrant quarterly digital coaching magazine that brings you a wealth of expertise, experience, value and insights from successful, inspiring coaches. This dedicated and unique space is designed with a mission to inspire, educate and empower, grow and succeed to be the best that you can be in all areas of your life. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Hello Gary, good morning. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited to be here, and thank you for that amazing intro and use all the words that I gave you. That's fantastic.
I love it. And the thing is, for the people who, we're going to talk about the magazine later on, but the magazine is absolutely brilliant. It's given me loads of insights already. And I am so intrigued about how you got to this point. So for the people who don't know who you are, can you just give a kind of quick snapshot of who is Teresa and what is she doing at the moment?
Sure. So I am a trained business coach and a NLP practitioner, which is a bit of a mouthful for, people at NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, also doesn't sound that attractive. Basically what it is working with how you think, how you perceive things, and there's a lot about communication, the language that we use within that, and it's incredibly powerful sort of neuroscience practice. And I couple that with my coaching, which gets, extra results, because as a business coach, of course, there's the frameworks of business and there's all the things that you want to do, and the sales and marketing, which is, I have a 20-year background in sales and marketing, advertising and media, so That's brilliant. But what you find is that it's the person behind the business that is driving it. It's that person that comes with their blocks and beliefs and things that will stop them. So I find that NLP incredibly powerful. And sometimes we just stop, unpack that, sort out, and then carry on with the business. So it's a really nice compliment. And prior to that, I have run magazines before. So I've been in publishing started my first business 2012, publishing business local magazines. And prior to that, sales environment, corporate sales, worked at Yellow Pages, intense, great job, loads of money, loads of stress, all of that. And prior to that, I started my very first sales career in newspaper advertising. So media is in my blood, sales is in my blood, and I am proud of that. Actually, I know it's a lot of things that people don't like, but I actually love it. When you understand what sales is, trust me, it is enjoyable. I know I probably get a lot of kickback on that, but it is enjoyable. So that's where I am now.
Brilliant. The thing is, people are going to have their own set of skills and own set of passions that are going to be unique to themselves. And with you being in sales from an early age, of course you're going to love it, because why wouldn't you?
Well, I think as well, I don't think anyone ever really wakes up and says, oh, I really want to be in sales. But the thing is, if you're running a business, if you're not selling your services, your products, then what are you doing? The tendency that might be a hobby or I would like to have. And so you do really need the sales, but actually, because I'm so passionate about the communication, that is what sales is about. And I think people get too hung up, although this isn't a sales podcast, people get too hung up on the word sale. And they think about the money, they think about the transaction, I've got to ask people for money and all of this. Well, actually the sale, the transaction, is your very, very, very last step after you've done beautiful transition with your customers and clients, which is all about them. So once you really understand the sales process, and I find that's all it is really, people just have a misperception of what it is. Then you think, oh, I can actually do this. It's not a secret skill set, although it is an art. I would say that it is an art and there is a process. So the training I've had in that has been invaluable. But it wasn't until I did the NLP training that I actually realised the huge part of the communication and rapport building, which is why I'd been so good at it in the past, but I didn't quite get it. I just thought, oh, I'm quite good at this. I didn't really understand why. So now I've got those, I can really help my clients and people forward with that. And so I do a lot of communication work within the coaching, which is great. And Coach Magazine, obviously you asked about that. That's an extension of my business, which is brand new and really exciting for me to launch that on Monday this week. And that really is about bringing something new into the space of coaching and helping people to understand what coaching is and what it isn't, because I think it's a minefield out there. And I know people agree with this. I've had so many conversations that people just don't really understand quite what coaching is. I mean, I don't know what you think about that, Gary.
Well, it was quite funny you mentioned that, because on a early podcast years ago, I was talking to a coach. They were also an NLP practitioner, and I was asking them the difference between coaching and mentoring, because people get confused. And to be fair, from my point of view, coaches is an important part of any business. It's that a business can kind of help grow you as a person, but also them at the same time as in the business. It's a tricky one, but for some people it's a dark art.
And the thing is, really, what you've just said there is key. It's a tricky one, but actually it shouldn't be tricky.
No.
Should it? Because if you look at something that's out there, you want to have a clear vision of what it is. To decide whether that might be for you or not. Now, if there's any trickiness around it, or you don't understand what that's about, the chances are you're going to veer away from it, make a presumption about it, and get confused. Okay, and this is, of course, what the magazine is about, is laying that clear, because and I'm a big champion for professional trained coaching, and I've done my coach training. I invested a lot of money in that, as a lot of time, a lot of hours that you do to build up that portfolio to show that you can do this, you understand it. And so at the moment there's an explosion, of course, and I find that when I came into the industry, and that's not that long ago, I'll be honest, it's not, but it doesn't matter, because when I came in, all I saw was confusion. I thought, what is everyone doing in this space? Because I thought I knew what I was going to do as a coach and understood it, but it seemed to be quite different out there. And I thought, well, if I'm confused and I'm actually doing this, then other people are. And there's a very clear difference between coaching and mentoring, consulting, therapy, helping, being a mate, advice, giving opinions. There are very clear differences between all of those things, and that's really what I want to lay out there, because if you are a professional in any aspect of your business, the chances are you will have had training around that framework, experience around that, and you bring that forward and you say, right, this is it. I've done my training, I've got my certificates, I've worked hard. Now I'm ready to implement everything that I've learned. And the reason it's so important in the coaching space, Gary, is because you are working with people. And it's a responsibility, because what you're doing as a coach is you're facilitating somebody's thought process. So I'm not telling my clients what to do. I mean, they'd love me to tell them what to do sometimes. They say, just tell me, Teresa. I'm like, no, I'm not telling you. I'm helping them to facilitate their own thought processes, so that the skills that they learn in the coaching space and the way that they move forward themselves in that space, they've got that skill for life. They don't need me per se after that. Whereas if you just tell someone something and you instruct them, you're training them, they can learn it, that's brilliant. When you go, who knows what they're going to do with that? But when you leave a coaching space and a coaching experience, you have changed your thought process. You've learned a new way to think and find your own answers, which isn't a cop-out for a coach not doing a good job. What that means is that it's a space which is extremely powerful to hold and navigate someone through. And back to the training, if you don't have that training, what are you doing in that space? That's my question. How do you know what you're doing in that space? And that space then becomes confused, because you're telling them what you've done, and you're instructing them, and a mishmash of all this stuff, which could possibly have some results, great, but could actually very possibly not also, and that's where the bad rep comes in. Yeah.
No, I get that. Let's go back a few years to when you first started your kind of NLP and your business coach kind of journey. Now, we were talking off the podcast all about the best laid plans and about how different people have got different needs at different stages of their business. How did you get into it? Because I think some people are interested in it but don't know really how to where to start. And how did you get into it?
Yeah. And I was one of those people. I was always interested in it. I mean, I was listening to Tony Robbins when he was on VHS video, like without wanting to give away my age. I had like the whole row of them.
Brilliant. You could have said CD-ROM as well, and that could have had the same impact.
Yeah, CD-ROM, that's brilliant. But, you know, obviously I was quite young when I was interested in self-development. I'm holistically trained as well, so I ran a holistic business for a while. So I'm all about the 360 of a person. So I always had that interest in growth and development. And, you know, quite intensely so in my younger years. And then as I've gone forward, I started to train as a counsellor. Now that's been very interesting and has obviously helped me in my work, but I didn't pursue that particular avenue. And then obviously going through the media career, I still always had my interest in holistics, and of all the books, you know, so many books, you know, self-development books, and found it a very, very interesting world. Not sure at that point whether I applied a lot.
That's a good point. Okay.
Yeah, but I read a lot and I took it in. And there's a couple of books along the way that really changed my life. But I think that's a key point, because a lot of people do a lot of reading.
Yes.
A lot of people do a lot of listening. And a lot of people do a lot of nothing.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's taking all of that information and not just thinking, that was a great book. Like, well, in these days, podcast. What am I going to do about it? So I did a lot of absorbing, if you like. But I was still, you know, fairly unconscious in my life, if you like. I was, you know, you react to situations, you're in your business, you're selling. And when I look back now, life was so different then. So you do change. Literally, when you grow, you change. It's not just about business growth and financial growth. So I got to a point, basically, Gary, where I got a bit bored with what I was doing. And it's as simple as that. There were no magic corners particularly. There were some pivotal moments in my life where some big stuff happened. I thought, hold on, I've got to make a decision. And that's the key as well. You've got to be able to make decisions, and you make it, you go with what you've got at the time, and then you see. But where people get stuck is in this indecision, this horrible frozen space where you just can't move. So, you know, I've always made decisions and then kind of worked it out a bit later. But I would say, with reference to our best laid plans conversations that we've had before, you can plan everything out. Let me tell you, you can write down your business plan, you can make your list, do the whole lot, colour coordinate, the lot.
It could be a beautiful work of kind of business, art, whatever you want to call it.
It's amazing. Right? But when you start executing that plan and you go to day one and you make that first step, I can guarantee you by the time you've got to step 3, it's going to be different.
Yes.
Because in reality, everything is different. And of course you need a plan. I mean, I'm a coach. I love a plan. I love a goal. But you've got to be able to navigate your way through it. And you've got to look for the stepping stones. And it's a big thing with me. Look for those stepping stones. And don't worry about am I going to slip on that one? Is that a bit slippy? Is that safe? Because you'll never take the step. So the way that I've got where I am today is literally by taking the steps forward. You know, some areas I've wasted time. Some areas I haven't had the greatest of insight to see what I should be doing. Sometimes I've got in my own way and I've not brought my skills forward. All of that stuff.
But I'm sure you're not alone in this. I'm sure you're not alone in this. I'm sure that's common with everybody. And, you know, people applying knowledge, making decisions, making, you know, the best laid plans, but not actually kind of changing the approach when needed. Do you know what? That's a key business skill, but actually you're not born with that business skill. You're not born with that sense of urgency, that sense of desire to change. You've got to have it within you to be able to do it to start off with.
Yeah, and you might have, like you said, that's interesting, you might have a sense of desire to change. In fact, a lot of people do have a sense of desire to change. And that's where it stops. Because then they think, well, I want to change this. Or what they would do is they would think about things, how they would wish them to be. If only it could be like that. I wish that I could just change my job. I wish I could be in business for myself. Well, great, you can wish for it, but you know, making it happen is another level.
Yes.
And making it happen is really about you're going to grip up everything that you believe in, everything that you know you've got, and you're going to step out. You're going to step out and you're going to do it. Now, that's the bit that people don't like, because that's a scary place to be.
Of course it is.
Vulnerable. It's growth. Growth means uncomfortable. We talk about growth like it's an amazing thing. It's actually very painful.
Yeah.
Right? So when you grow, things have to change, and some things have to fall away as well in order to grow yourself, your business. So it can be a long journey, and I think that's what people don't realise, is that, you know, coaching, growing a business, change, it's not a quick fix.
No.
You know, there's no quick fix.
I talk about it in marketing all the time. Like, you have to play the long game rather than the short game. Obviously, you have to have short-term wins, but you have the bigger picture, you have the long-term plan, and you know where you want to go because you've got the foresight to plan that out. But not be afraid of making decisions along the way.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, Gary. That is the thing. The long-term plan, the bigger picture, the end result. I find as I go along that some people have it, but a lot of people struggle with that. So when you say, you know, why are you doing all of this? What's the point of it all? They kind of sit there and look at you. Well, yeah, I want to grow my business, and it's still very short-term thinking.
Yeah.
So the first thing I have to do with people is really zoom them out. And I have to keep taking them out, because people want to get their head in the detail. They want to get stuck into the detail. And of course, you know what it's like, the devil's in the detail. When you're there, you can't see, and you need that. That's what a coach will do, is help you to zoom right out and go, get your face out of that story. And that's what I said to my client the other day. You know, yesterday, in fact, I said, come out, step away from the story, and you have to come back to see what you ultimately want, because all of this running around like rats in the trap and busy, doing the business, building the business, you've got to think, are you enjoying it? Is this part of your journey to where you really want to be? Are you having fun? Because I'm always having fun, Gary, even when I'm stressed to the max, and, you know, the end of the day comes and I'm frazzled, I'm still having fun. I'm still happy because I absolutely love what I'm doing, right? And if I didn't, trust me, I'd stop in a flash and do something else, because that's how I am.
Brilliant. But that's such a healthy way of thinking about things. And for the people who might not be in that position and might not have that same mindset, you know, what you've just done without realising it, or you might have realised, was actually given permission to think like you do. And actually say it's okay. You know, this is a situation, but this is how I feel about it. This is how I deal with it. And this is an alternative to the way you're feeling at this precise moment. Because there might be some people out there listening to the podcast who aren't enjoying it, who might be overwhelmed, who might be within the business rather than looking from the outside.
Yeah, and I tell you what, it's not enjoyable when you are constantly looking outward for your results. That's when it's not enjoyable, because when you seek, you'll get stuff, you get reward here, get some money there, get a contract here. But actually, sometimes a lot of that can feel empty, you know, the outward stuff. And so that brings me to a massive part of what I work with, which is values. Knowing your values, knowing who you are, and knowing what you stand for, okay? And that doesn't have to be big and dramatic, but it's like, who am I really? And people struggle with that element. So it's easy to be unhappy when you don't know who you are and what you stand for, because trust me, when you put yourself out there and people come with their opinions and they don't like this and I don't like that, I don't agree with you, and if you don't know who you are and you're not strong in who you are with your values, that will hurt you, and it will knock you back, and you will say, I'm not doing this because these people don't like it, and this is terrible, and your mindset is all over the place. And that's where the problems come, because actually, when you think about it, I'd love to meet the person that's pleased everyone all the time.
you will find no one in the world.
You will find no one in the world.
No one.
Exactly. So why do people worry so much about pleasing everybody else when it's actually not even possible? You think about that for a moment.
I've let the pause just to do that. No, you're right, it's not. And no one can be 100% popular all the time. There's no point trying. And I love how you say about your values and about working out who you are. I go on to a story, but I'll say that for another time. All about how I found out what I want to do and how I kind of came to this point. But for the people who are in business at the moment, they might be in year 1 or year 5 or year 10. Everyone's got different needs. We've got about 30 seconds just to talk about, 30 seconds to a minute to talk about the kind of different needs you might have during the lifetime of your business, if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you say, it doesn't matter where you are, day 1, year 5, year 10, it's all about your mindset, and that will change over time as well, but it also takes a long time to develop. So in the background of anything anyone is trying to do at any stage, and when you go to different levels and you go to different stages, your mindset needs to go with you.
Yes.
And you will find that the most successful people in the world will have coaches and mentors in order for them to keep growing their mindset and shifting. Because you can't just, if you suddenly made loads of money, okay, overnight like that, and you hear about the lottery winners, they got all this money, what happens? Usually it's a disaster, right?
Yep.
Because their mindset was not in that place, that understanding financially, and they get the money and the money goes and they waste the money and they're back to square one, like the guy with all the race cars in the lottery winner. Disaster. And so your mindset sits behind everything you do. So it doesn't matter where you are on your journey, but you work on your mindset first.
Yep.
Understand who you are first, and always know who you are. It doesn't mean being inflexible, but boy, does it change how you can interact with other people and get forward when you understand that it's okay to be you, right?
Perfect. And I'm going to finish the conversation off here with a kind of a quote from your magazine. It's actually on your back cover of your magazine. You didn't know I was going to say this, but this for me sums up pretty much most of this conversation and most of this podcast really well. And that is, an inch of movement will take you closer to your goals than a mile of intention.
Yeah.
And that's at the back of your magazine. Yeah.
You like that?
I do. I love it because, that goes into, having the drive to apply knowledge, make decisions, not to be afraid, know your mindset, know the value of yourself, know what you want to do. That covers everything. And there's such a powerful phrase. Do something. Just do something. Don't worry about it. If you know what you're doing and you know who you are and you've got some courage in there, screw your courage to the sticking place, as Shakespeare said, and just literally do it, because there's not going to be any movement, okay, or any energy at all until you do something. And the most miserable place for anyone to be is stuck in inaction. That's my idea of hell. Cool. So the magazine has got loads of different coaches and of all different types of industries. I've seen a yogi instructor. I've seen people talk about sales. I've read an article about mindset. So it covers a lot of things. How can people get access to the Coaching magazine and find out more information about your services in person or online?
Yeah, I mean, the magazine is free to subscribe to. The digital download is free. I don't want any barriers to it travelling online and to reaching the people that it needs to. So you can find that on Coach Magazine, the Facebook page. The subscribe links are kind of all over there at the moment.
And I'll put it on the show notes as well.
Thank you, that'd be fab.
Yeah.
And then you can connect with me, Teresa Brooks, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you choose to find me, I will be there. And Coach Magazine also. And I would love for people to read that and get back to me on it. And yes, it is a 360 approach. I think some people thought Teresa's a business coach. It's going to be all about business and sales, but it's not.
No.
And I think that's been quite a nice surprise for people. So I'm pleased with that, because you don't just coach and develop one part of yourself. You may do it at different times, but it's all of you. It's the person that makes anything happen, and that person needs taking care of, right?
On that note, thank you so much. That's a really good way of finishing it off. Thank you very much for your time, and please, everyone who is listening, please check out the magazine and connect with Teresa online. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you, Gary. Bye-bye.
What a show. Thank you so much, Teresa, for being a guest on The Grow Show this episode. Now, If you haven't already, please check out Coach Magazine and please follow Teresa on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and Instagram. But remember, with the Coach Magazine, it's not just about you. If you want to share it with any peeps that you think it's going to provide value to, please do. Also, if you're listening to this and you would love to give me a shout out or tell me how bad it is, please do. Like, comment, and if you want to provide value to others, please share it as well. But also remember, if you subscribe to the channel on whatever podcast player you're listening to, then you will get all the episodes, all the future episodes straight away. No waiting around, straight to your device. So please like, comment, share, but also subscribe. And hey, if you want to leave us a review, please go for it. Even if it's a 1-star, put it down there. Now again, I just want to say thank you so much for listening today. It's a joy for me to interview these people, and please let us know what you think about it on social media. Have a great time everyone, and I'll see you all next time for the next episode of The Grow Show. Bye bye.